What is going on, guys? We're back. I know it's been a couple of weeks since I've uploaded a video. We're back here in the garage. Little update on what's going on here. We got the motor out. The motor is out. She is ready to rock and roll. The clutch actually wasn't the issue. I think I found out what the issue was, but we got to do a couple of tests and see what it is. Will I get it all done today? Probably not. Will I get it all done by this entire weekend? Possibly. We're gonna have to see. Today, right now, what we're gonna focus on is a little bit more painting. The intake tubing that I have right here, this little guy, is red, and I don't like red. It just happened to be red because I got it for free from a buddy of mine, and I just never touched it. So we're gonna do the same thing that we did on the strut brace, blue, color change, sparkle, we're gonna do that. And then I've got a couple of plastic pieces that I'm gonna do in that same color. So we're just gonna go ahead and start cleaning them up and sanding them and start hanging them up and painting them and see how well it goes. It's not super warm out today, but it's not cold and it's not windy. So obviously I'll have the lamps on to try to heat it up and help that paint cure as best as I can. So we're gonna go ahead and sand this guy down, get it ready for primer, and then I'll update you guys once we've got that on. All right, so here it is. You can see it's a little less shiny now. Try to get it to focus. If it's just gonna be a quick little paint, you know, you're not painting a whole car, you're just painting a little part that's not gonna get, it's not really exposed to outside elements as much as like a car, and it's not a real professional paint job. Really all you gotta do with this stuff is you just wanna scuff it up. So red Scotch-Brite pad, that's what I use. I use it for everything. I have so many of these. I love them. It's about a 320 grit. All it does is it just scuffs up the surface a little bit, because when you get the surface scuffed up, then the paint is able to adhere better. Paint doesn't really adhere to a smooth surface very well. That's why you want to sand it. So when you're doing small parts like this, you just want to go ahead and do a quick little scuff, and then you're all good for primer, especially if you do a self-etching primer. You can get that just at any O'Reilly auto parts stores. A subtle plug right there. Really any place that sells spray paint should have a self-etching primer. And the self-etching primer, it adheres better than normal primer. So you do that along with the scuff, it's going to adhere great. And then with the self-etching primer, you don't have to then sand the primer down before you go do paint. You can just spray the paint on right after once the primer's cured and dried. So I just went ahead and scuffed that. And then I'm going to show you guys how we hang this up. It's just going to be right over here. The best way to hang this stuff is really just with some wire. So I just hang it from the main rafter on my garage. I know some people have little rigs set up, you know, typically a triangular shape. When you're painting small parts like this, the best way is just to hang it up with a thin wire. In this case, I'll show you, I drilled a hole so that the wire can go through. So this hole actually sits right under where the filter actually mounts. So the filter actually comes to about here. So it's not gonna be in the way. It's not a hole that's gonna be seen. It's not something that's gonna cause a vacuum leak of any sort. So I just thought it was the perfect place to go ahead and drill a hole right there. And then that just allows me to hang it with the thin wire. And then if the wire does get in the way of paint just a little bit, like I said, it's gonna be completely covered by the filter actually being on there. So that's the best way that you can really paint these small parts, is just hang it by some wire. I went ahead and put some primer on already, and I'm gonna show you guys that here in just a second. The primer, you don't wanna let the primer fully dry. You don't want it to go fully cured, because if you do, then you will have to sand it down again just a little bit. Typically with primer, you wanna wait until it's just dried a little bit, just let it get a little bit tacky, and then you start spraying your base coat. And primer doesn't take too long to dry. It's about 10-15 minutes, especially when you're just using spray paint and you're just doing a small part. Spray your primer, wait about 10-15 minutes, and then you can go ahead and spray your base coat. So that's what we've got going on here. I'll show you guys the primer here. So here's the primer. I know it's gonna be hard with this lighting. So here's your primer. We got the primer on. Just like I said, it's gonna be a real light coat, real basic coat. Took about 10-15 minutes. And prepped one of the other parts to get ready for paint. So we're gonna go ahead and spray the base coat on this now. The base coat you do wanna let dry just a little bit until you start spraying the clear. So we're gonna go ahead and do that. So that one typically you wanna wait probably about 30 minutes to an hour, depending on the temperatures that you have. If you're doing this in the cold, you definitely wanna wait longer because it's gonna take longer for it to cure. But I have these lights on there, which makes it, you know, it kind of acts like heat. And I know it's only on one side, but I've made sure that it's on the side that actually faces up in the engine bay. So yeah, we're just gonna go ahead and we're gonna spray the base coat and then wait probably about a half hour to 45 minutes, let it cure, and then we're gonna start out and go with the clear coat. and then hopefully that should do it. And then you want to let that cure pretty good, and then we'll start on the other parts. So let me go ahead and get the base coat sprayed, and I'll update you guys when that's ready. So we're back here. Went ahead, got a base coat put on. I actually put a couple of base coats on, but here we go. She's nice and sparkly. Looks purple from this lighting, but it is supposed to be like a purple and blue kind of chameleon style. So here she is. We got that done all the way around there. So now what we're gonna do is, ow, sorry, my garage is a mess, as you guys know. So I have to make my way under there as I'm doing everything else. So anyways, we're gonna go ahead. It's been curing with the heat for a little bit. I'm probably gonna wait about 10 more minutes, and then we're gonna go ahead and throw the clear coat on. And then the clear coat, we really do gotta wait for it to be a little bit more. Luckily I have plenty of wire, so I didn't think about that. I thought I could just do each part one by one, but I might have to just hang some more wire to get more of these parts done so that I can actually get them done today. But until then, we're just gonna go ahead and throw the clear on this and see how long it takes to cure. If it doesn't take too long, I hope I can get it to a point where it's cured enough so that I can take it off the wire and then set it up somewhere so that it doesn't get in the way, or just take the wire and hang that somewhere else so that it can finish curing while I keep the other parts where the light is so that I can begin on the other parts. So anyways, we're gonna go ahead and spray clear, and then we'll pick you up when I start on the next part. I'll let you guys know what it is. The intake tube is almost done. It was good enough for me to be able to grab it and untie it off the wire and set it somewhere else to finish carrying. The next thing that we're doing is the oil catch can, and I'll show you guys that here. So here's our oil catch can. You can see it's all nice and scuffed up, cleaned up, taped off the tube that shows you the oil level, taped off the ports, hung it on the wire, and then this is the bracket that's gonna hold the catch can in. So we're just gonna go ahead, we're gonna start with the primer on these guys, and it's really gonna be about the same process. So I don't think I'll take you step by step through these ones. I'll just show you the finished result. And then I think I've got one more piece that I need to paint as well. I don't wanna overwhelm myself by trying to get 3. Overspray is not a big deal because I've got stuff taped off, but I'm gonna stick with the 2 here, and that's just because they go together. So I'll go ahead and I'll do that stuff real quick. I'll catch you guys up when I've got the next piece hanging and ready to paint, and I'll show you guys what that is and where it goes. I'm trying to add a little bit more to my engine bay. It's been obviously fairly stock, and I'm just trying to add a little bit more flair. The engine bay just looks like a mess because it's not shaved, it's not cleaned up, and I have done a lot of cleaning up on it, but I want to add a little bit more that'll maybe grab people's attention other than my messing wiring or the fact that the engine bay is not painted. So this is just going to be fun little stuff. I already had the paint, so why not? So we're going to do this and I'll get you guys back. Everything's dried for the most part. Obviously, I'm going to let all of this dry overnight. I might even let it dry over the weekend. We're gonna have to see how it goes by tomorrow, how dry it is. Here it is. I've got the flash on to try to show you. So here's the catch can. It's got that same kind of color shift sparkle as what I was doing before. The bracket that I made for it, though, instead of doing the color shift, I just did a black base coat and a pearlescent clear coat. So hopefully that'll kind of add a little bit of contrast to it. Maybe kind of make the bracket stand out more than the actual catch can, or vice versa, make the catch can stand out more than the bracket, but not have the bracket just be some lame silver or black bracket. So the next piece that we're going to do here is this little guy here, and I'll show you where this goes right here. So this actually goes right here. It's going to be, there's a bolt there, but basically what it does is it sits there because as the wiring harness goes over here, under the intake, the harness then comes and it sits right here and it hits the alternator and the AC compressor, which I don't have. And other than that, just a loom sits right there. So this is just kind of a little piece. Some of the Corollas got them, some of them didn't. I was able to find this one on one at the junkyard, so I snagged it. And we're gonna do the same thing. We're gonna do the same color shift. It's not gonna go with the valve cover very well, but if I really hate it, I can go buy another valve cover and replace that. That's easy enough. But yeah, we're gonna go ahead and do that, just because I think the exposed wire loom doesn't look too great, and this cover was made for this car for a reason. So I figured, why not? It's a good looking piece. It's just a plastic piece, so it'll be easy. I've already sanded it. I was just waiting for this stuff to get done. So we're gonna go ahead and we'll throw it on there and we'll do some primer and some paint and we'll do the same process on it and I'll let you know when I get that one done. All right, we're back. It's the next day. Got everything painted. I'll show you guys that a little bit later. Right now, what I was working on was replacing the rear motor mount on this thing, and I'll show you. So the rear motor mount is, it's hard to find here. Right about there, you can see it. So I unbolted it, had to take the bracket off the transmission because I thought that's the only way that I'm gonna slip it out of here. And it's still not working. The steering rack is actually in the way. And I found out that I actually have to unbolt the back half of the subframe and bend it down just a little bit. So what we're going to work on right now is I'm going to have David help me out here with the flywheel because I'm going to need someone to use a pry bar and hold that thing steady while I unbolt it and get the new one put on. And then after that I can slap the clutch in. Then it's all good to go back in there. But my back is absolutely killing me today and I don't know if I'm going to be able to get this motor put in today. It's a lot. Even just sitting there doing that motor mount was killing me. So we're at least going to get that done and then I'm going to see what I can do. But I don't know if this motor is going to be able to go in this weekend. But you know, while I'm at it, we'll go ahead and we'll replace the front motor mount because that should be easy. And then I'm going to wait until I get the motor in to replace that back one because I have to jack it up and undo that subframe. And I just don't trust the transmission sitting there like that. So we're going to go ahead and do that, and I'll let you guys know when we're done with that. We're here. Got the front motor mount on. I'm just going to go ahead and try to put the motor in. I know my back is kind of killing me, but the last time David and I did the motor, I mean, hell, we got it popped in there in about 10-15 minutes, so shouldn't be too bad. I have to jack the car up to get the lift to fit under there anyways. So, I mean, that's the main problem I have working on this car is it's just too low to work on. And that's probably what's killing my back. But we're just going to go ahead and try it. See what, I mean, worst comes to worst, I have to pull it back out and set it back down and wait until my back stops hurting a little bit. Couple more things I need to do. The front motor mount, the 2 bolts that go into the subframe, I guess one was missing. I never knew this. It never gave me a problem, but since I'm putting a new one in, I want to make sure I'm doing everything right. So we're going to have to go to O'Reilly's and grab another bolt for that. I think I know what thread it is, but we should be able to get it and no problem. So we're going to go ahead. We're going to try to slap the motor in there just so that everything's kind of good and in there. And then we'll run out there and we'll grab the last couple things that we need and then hook everything up and hope that it's all good. So let me go ahead and here she is. She's right there. We're gonna attempt to put this in here. David's actually working on his car right now, so I'm gonna attempt to put it in by myself. This is my 7th one. I should be able to put it in by myself at this point, but we'll have to see. So anyways, let's go ahead and try to get this done. We're back here. Actually ran to the store to grab one more bolt that I needed for something, and then a couple of riv nuts, and I'll show you guys what the riv nuts are gonna be for if I can get them in today. Motor is still not in the car yet. You guys can see that. We did attempt to do it, but I was having some trouble because I actually had the rear motor mount disconnected because I was trying to replace it and it's a pain to replace. So I explained that to you guys. I'm gonna wait until the motor's in there to do that. But I always have the rear motor mount connected when I do this, so I was trying to do it the way I always do it, and it didn't work because the transmission was actually pushed forward towards the front of the car a little bit because the front motor mount wasn't connected either. So it was just way off. It was being a pain. So I had to pull the motor back out and reconnect to that mount, and then I just went to the store real quick. David had to grab something for his Jeep. But it is insanely dusty right now. I don't know if any of you guys know anything about West Texas, but we get really high winds and there's nothing here except for dust. So I'll show you guys right now. I actually have the garage open halfway, but it is unbelievably dusty right now. You can't even see. It is just terrible. Yep, there's David. So it's so bad right now. Like driving down the highway, these Texans, who don't know how to drive by the way, they had their hazards on because visibility was about 30 feet in front of each of our cars. I don't know why they had their hazards on. Maybe it's just because I'm used to driving in the snow with all the whiteouts that I just don't care. But yeah, that's how dusty it is. I had to hold my steering wheel almost a quarter turn to the right because the wind was blowing in from the left. It was just awful. So we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna put that bolt in that I just got. Maybe try to get the motor in again, but my back is still killing me. And then at the least, I can show you guys what those riv nuts are for and how to install them. So we're gonna get back to it, and I'll let you guys know. I'm gonna show you guys how the Dorman riv nut works. Here it is. So basically, here's the riv nut. It goes into the hole like so, and then this part here squishes down. The way you do that is you put a wrench right here, you put a socket right here, and you twist it, and you're just supposed to suck it in there. At least that is how their video on YouTube shows it. So we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna try that out. So I've got the thing in the hole. I've got my ratchet here. I've got the wrench on here. I'm gonna try to move my hand so that I can make it visible for you guys. But we're gonna flip that to Tighten. And we're just gonna start cranking it. It actually doesn't take a lot to try to crank it, which is nice. It takes a little bit of holding it steady. That could just be the fact that I tightened it into my strut tower and not into a nice flat piece of metal. But once it starts to cinch itself together, it goes pretty good. I have a feeling that when it's fully tightened and you can't go anymore, I mean, it'll make itself clear of that. The riv nut's in there, guys, ladies and gentlemen. Let me go ahead and move the camera angle here so I can show you that. All right, so here it is. I guess the flash is actually messing that up. So here it is. All that dust is actually just left over from the drilling, don't worry. Now, obviously right here you can see a little bit of it showing up, and I think the problem is just the fact that I'm putting it in a curved piece of metal. But it threads in and threads out pretty easily. I was able to thread it out just fine. So we'll go ahead and we'll see if we can get that one. Maybe I'll flip it around and I'll just have the thing right here. So instead of another hole here, we'll drill another one there. We'll have to play that by ear. I might have to wait until the motor gets mounted, until I can really figure out how that catch can is going to sit. But that is how the Dorman riv nut works. I like it. I think it's very simple. I would honestly prefer the one where you have to use the rivet gun. Maybe not the squeeze handle gun, but the one that looks like bolt cutters. I just feel like that's probably a little bit easier, but I'm not the one that makes them. These are cheap, so I'm gonna try them out. It really doesn't hurt to try it out. So anyways, that's how you put that thing in. I think that's gonna wrap it up for this episode just because it's still unbelievably windy. We're getting like 75-mile-an-hour winds right now, and dust is creeping in every crevice in this garage. It's getting hard for me to breathe. I'm sorry that we didn't get too much done, but we did get the painting of those parts done. I think that was really important. I've been wanting to do that for a while. It's also just going to bring things together in the engine bay because I've had the blue valve cover and the red intake manifold. I just added the silver catch can. Having all of those things be one color, minus the valve cover, obviously. Can't do anything about that. And then the white strut bar, that was a big standout. It didn't look bad, but it stood out. And I think all of those being one collective color is really just going to help the engine bay pull itself together and look better. Even though it's not painted, it's still kind of dirty. I think it's going to bring it together a lot better. So we're going to go ahead and I'm going to clean this stuff up. Like I said, there's dust coming in everywhere. The wind is just crazy. You guys might actually be able to hear it. I don't know. It's just absolutely crazy. But we're going to go ahead. I'm going to clean a few things up. We've got the motor sitting here. We're going to try to put that thing back in on Tuesday. But if not, definitely next weekend when this video is being released. So anyways, I appreciate you guys watching. If you really enjoyed the video, click that subscribe button down below. Go ahead and drop a like. And go ahead and share the video with your friends. Like I said, we're trying to hit, I never remember. Anytime I do this, I never remember what my subscriber goal is. I think I said 1,000 subscribers by the end of the year or 1,000 subscribers by the end of summer. I'll have to go back in the other video and watch, but 1,000 subscribers, even if there's no time frame, 1,000 subscribers is just a good goal to have, just to have the goal. I'm going to leave you guys with that. Hopefully you enjoyed this, and until next week, later.